Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to Emerson's Unitarian Universalist Congregation's online streaming service for May 3rd. My name is Michael Myers, and I'm the Property Management Council, a member of the choir, and a member of the Worship Associates. And I'd like to thank Bruce King for playing that beautiful music. I just wish we could see him playing. I'd like to begin this morning with a reading from the song Truth of the Heart by Melissa Etheridge. Deep down inside, I think we're all the same. Try not to judge someone and never shame. I do believe that people are good. They just want hope and respect and to be understood. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's strange, but the truth of the heart is that people can change. There is no magic, there are no secrets. We all begin this race at the start. And I have come this far with the truth of the heart. Emerson is a non-creedal church. We try to give our people hope, try to respect each other's beliefs, and try to understand each other. At Emerson, we invite you to find your own truth of the heart. If you are new to Emerson or haven't been with us for a little while, then I send a special welcome to you and hope that today's service nourishes you in some way and that you return in the future. After our service, there will be second hour activities, and if you click on the Show More below me, it will show a list of the activities which will occur at 11:15 this morning. Please join us as you see fit. Since we cannot greet each other like we normally do, I'd like to make a virtual handshake to you in greeting. This is the best we can do, and we can all virtually handshake. I hope you have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and welcome and good morning to everyone. My name is Reverend Deborah Morgan-Bennett, and I am here at Emerson, amongst the flowers, where I thought it would be appropriate for this morning's Chalice Lighting. It is by Amy Morgenstern. And Amy says, within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of the community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy. Our chalice is lit, or at least for a little bit. So today is several special days. So today is 2 days after May Day and Beltane, the time when we celebrate the fertility of all and the coming of summer. Today is also the day before International Labyrinth Day. So hopefully you've had a chance, perhaps yesterday, and if not, you're invited to come out today or tomorrow to our parking lot where there's going to be some beautiful labyrinths being drawn, and you can take a turn walking through the labyrinth in a social distancing kind of way. The Heart to Heart Listening Circle has offered that as a gift. So that's been very wonderful. And as many of you know, today being the first Sunday of May is our Founders Day. Now normally we would be celebrating with a picnic and all kinds of fun things right here on the grounds, but today we're going to celebrate in word and in song and maybe a couple little special things thanks to our family and our children. I'm going to begin this morning with some words that really honor, they're from a Unitarian Universalist minister, Nancy Schaefer. She's a former minister, she's passed, and she did this beautiful thing of writing a book during the course of her illness. And she had many beautiful poems that came out through this time. And this is one I thought especially beautiful, because today we speak of legacy. So she says, when you heard that voice and knew finally it called for you and what it was saying, where were you? Were you in the shower, wet and soapy, or chopping cabbage late for dinner? Were you planting radish seeds, or seeking one lost sock? Maybe wiping handprints off a window, or coaxing words into a sentence, or coming upon a hyacinth, or one last no. Where were you when you heard that ancient voice and did say yes? Yes, get born. When did yes get born? Was it right then? And did you weep? Had it called you since before you ever were? And when you knew it, did your joy escape all holding? Where were you when you heard that calling voice? And how in that moment did you mark it? And how ever after were you changed? Please tell us all you can about that voice. Teach us how to listen, how to hear. Teach us all you can about saying yes. So I invite you to say yes this morning to the spring, to the new day, and to all that is in front of us. Please rise as you are able or willing and sing with us, saying yes to life.
You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing, oh Lord. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance, oh Lord. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout, oh Lord. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. 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 Spirit says shout.
Good morning. My name is Beth Klein, and I serve Emerson UU congregation as your Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth. I also serve on the pastoral care team at Emerson. Our pastoral care team members are available as listening ears to support you during challenging times. You can contact us at our email address, pastoralcare@emersonuu.org. At this time in our service, we pause to share the personal joys and sorrows of the congregation. As I should share today's joys and sorrows, I'll light a candle in our vigil bowl. Its light represents the light of hope for the peaceful resolution of all conflicts on our planet, and it honors all the dedicated people who serve us, including those who are on the front line of the battle against COVID-19 virus. Today I share these joys and sorrows with you. A joy from Megan Lloyd Joyner. She's a new UU minister in our area here in Atlanta. Though I have not met many of you in person, I wanted to share some good news in hard times. Our daughter, Sora Marie Joyner Clark, was born on April 22nd at Emory Midtown Hospital. We are at home, healthy and happy. Big sister Arden is over the moon, and my husband Anthony and I are beyond delighted that she is finally here. In these challenging times, she arrives like a clear blue sky. And from Ginger White, another joy. My sister Myra got a report back that the tumor in her lung is much reduced in size. Still, it's a long road ahead. She is an inspiration with how she keeps such a positive attitude. And there is another joy message from the Jason Chitwood's family. He and his fiancée, Robin, are delighted to be expecting a baby daughter this fall. Big sister-to-be, Emily, is absolutely thrilled. They moved to Beaufort, Georgia this past week to be closer to Robin's new college teaching position, and Jason's family is nearby. Congratulations to them. A note from Gwen Simmeling. Gwen has a joy that her sister Ann Kennedy has gotten a job in her field of study, biology. Yay! But that has meant a move for Ann to Florida. Gwen adds that we are so proud of her, but we already miss her tons. Gwen also had a sorrow to add this week. Please keep my best friend Amber in your thoughts, as her father passed away on Monday, April 20th. She has lost both of her amazing parents in the last 2 months and is still moving forward as a nurse in a COVID-19 unit in North Georgia. A sad news from Joe Tomachek, who shared that his brother-in-law, Sudhir Tiwari, is now in hospice care. Please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. And from Fred Macy, a note that his wife Marjorie is recovering at home from surgery at Atlanta Northside Hospital that was held on Wednesday. We know that there are also joys and sorrows left unspoken today. As I light candles for them, please feel free to speak aloud the name of anyone you're holding close to your heart this morning. Let us all of us send our heartfelt intentions to all people, everywhere, by offering the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. The words are projected here on your screen and also in your order of service. Please join me. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May they be free from harm and suffering. May they be well in body, heart, and mind. May they be at peace. Blessed be.
Oh, hi. Hey, I would love to invite all the children, young and young at heart that is, to join me for a story. I've got my little cat Zeus here, who likes to take walks with me, as you can see. And we're going to tell a story. So come on in, come in closer, have a seat, and let me tell you this story. It's a story of an old man who lived way up into the woods. So there was this man that lived up in the woods. And one thing that he loved to do, he lived up in the woods with his cat, by the way. And one thing he loved to do was make things out of wood. So he would get his tools and he would start to make things. One of the things he loved to make wooden animals. And he would make animals of all kinds of shapes. He would make elephants, and he made a cow. I think he even made a giraffe one day. And he would love to play with his toys. He would have them talking to each other, and he'd put them on the ground. And sometimes his kitty would even play with them. He was a happy guy up there with his toys. He also made utensils that would help him in cooking. So he would make some spoons. It was a very big spoon, and something to stir with. So he was a very happy man, and he did a lot of woodworking. But one day he was out in the woods, and he looked all around, and he looked all around, and lo and behold, he found a huge piece of wood. And he started carving that piece of wood. And he carved, and he carved, and he carved, and he carved. He scraped and he carved until finally what he had made, he realized, much to his own surprise, was a beautiful big bowl. At first he was so happy about his big bowl. Then he got to thinking, what's a guy like me up in the woods all alone with just my cat gonna do with this great big bowl? Well, he couldn't really think of anything, and he was so tired from playing with all his wooden toys and carving that great big bowl, he decided to take a nap. So he leaned back and he fell asleep. And while he was asleep, he started to have the most amazing dream. And he was seeing his bowl begin to be filled up. And then he woke up from his dream, inspired and happy. He knew exactly what he was going to do. There was a village not far away. He had never really been there before, but he knew that he must take the bowl to the village, and he was going to give the bowl to the village. So he took the bowl and he went down to the village, and he gave the bowl to the villagers, who made a great big village salad. And he was very happy. And every year he promised to go back to the village and bring his great big bowl. And when the time came and the man was no longer able to go to the village anymore, he did a wonderful thing. As a legacy to his love for all the children in the village, he left them the bowl so that every year they can remember to toss their joy and their love together, because together they are all so much better. I invite you now into a time of meditation. This is our time in our service where we allow ourselves to just sit and be, to follow the breath, and to pull our focus inside. So as you feel comfortable, find a place to sit, perhaps close your eyes, or at least have soft focus in your eyes, where maybe you look down, or you start to draw your attention inward. One of the best ways to do that is by following the breath. So I'm going to invite you now to take a breath in and watch this breath. It might be the first breath that you've been consciously aware of today. So take the breath in, watch it, and then allow the breath to fall away and exhale. So in this way, allow each breath to be a conscious moment for you, a way that you can bring your attention inward, starting to withdraw from any external demands on your time and your attention. As if the eyes that face out could, for a moment, face inward into your spirit. Allow this time to be that time. And allow these words from Pesha Gurter, called the healing time, allow these to wash over you. finally, on my way to yes, I bump into all the places where I said no. To my life, all the untended wounds, the red and purple scars, those hieroglyphs of pain carved into my skin, my bones, those coded messages that sent me down the wrong street again and again, where I find them, the old wounds, the old misdirections. I find them, and I lift them one by one close to my heart, and I say, holy, holy. Allowing yourself to, with this inward gaze, gaze upon those places that call for you to hold them close to your heart, saying, holy, holy. You too are holy. Allowing your focus to come back to your breath. Take a deep breath in. And allow the next exhale to wash away any pain, any holding, any no's that you're holding on to. Let the next breath in bring in new life, new possibilities. And as you are ready, allow your eyes to open.
All the colors of the rainbow, all the voices of the wind, every dream that reaches out to find where love begins. Every word of every story, every star in every sky, every corner of creation lives to testify. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I'll be a witness in the silences. Words are not enough. With every breath I take, I'll give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. From the mountains to the valleys, from the rivers to the sea, every hand that reaches out, every hand that reaches out to offer peace, every simple act of mercy, every step to kingdom come, all the hope in every heart will speak what love has done. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I'll be a witness in the silences. Words are not enough. With every breath I take, I'll give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify. I will testify to love. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I'll be a witness in the silences. Words are not enough. Every breath I take, I'll give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I will testify to love. I will testify to love.
We had been going to a Presbyterian church down Johnson's Ferry. We were looking for something else, and the bank building just down the road from the church we were going to had a sign out one Sunday that said, Emerson Unitarian meets here.
Investigated UU churches and other places that we lived, and we were interested in it. And so we were excited to find one so near.
I think they were meeting every other Sunday at the time. So we finally synced up and got a Sunday that wasn't an off Sunday, and we've been here ever since.
When we walked in the door, we were greeted. Everybody greeted us, asked us all about ourselves, and told us about them. We immediately felt at home. We felt like we had stumbled on the right place for us. And as Richard says, we've been here ever since.
Thank you, Richard and Millie Fuller, and we are so glad you have been here ever since. Imagine for a moment, if you will, a pebble dropping in a pond. What do you see? I'm going to guess that for most of you, what you saw in your mind's eye was ripples. Ripples upon ripples, extending out further and further from the place that the pebble dropped into the pond. Few of you probably focused your attention on the pebble itself, which sank to the bottom and was quickly not seen. I think life is like that as well, that it's not the individual events or the actions that draw our attention, but it's the ripple effects, the effects of our actions or the effect of events, the effects that go out further and further, creating and really recreating our lives over and over. You know, we see this in all spectrums of life. Unfortunately, sometimes in very tragic ways, such as when someone is suffering with addiction. Often the results of that ripple out through their family, their community, sometimes for generations. Or when a corporation chooses to pollute the environment, sending ripples out across many species of plants and animals, and us humans, for much longer than even the memory of that initial action ever was. And on a very concrete level right now, I think we are seeing the ripple effects, the effects of our choices as a country on how we govern, on the political leaders we've chosen, and on the social support systems that we have chosen to employ. These are choices that we may not have personally been in the room when they were being made, but we feel the ripple effects nonetheless, right now, washing over us. Now, of course, not all ripple effects are negative. Luckily, they are those positive ripples that we experience as well. They're produced by the pebbles of love, pebbles of compassion, pebbles of service that we experience through our lives. Well, 38 years ago, on May 1st, 1982, there was a pebble of Unitarian Universalism that was dropped into the pond of Cobb County. And we are its ripples. We're blessed that several of those founding members and folks that were real integral in the creation of Emerson still are with us today in our community. Millie and Richard Fuller, and Marjorie and Fred Macy, who were some of the original founders, Ed Miller, Fred Hatch, as well as others, provide us with the gift of the legacy of that action. You know, by definition, legacy is something that is passed down or passed on. It's often thought of in the form of static things or traditions or even stories. But I think there is more to the idea of legacy. Professional storyteller Tahira Aku Tahira calls legacy the book you write but will never get to read. Embedded in this idea of legacy is something that is very much alive, not static at all. Something that is active and continues to ripple beyond where it began. It can be altered and changed, and perhaps as Greg so beautifully put in our anthem today, it becomes a testimony. Legacy becomes a testimony to its source. And if we are lucky, our legacies become something far greater than we could have imagined ourselves. 2 days ago, I will mention, my oldest daughter, Rhea, turned 27. Now, I'll admit, I cannot remember much that happened 27 days ago in much detail, but I remember so many of the events that happened 27 years ago. Rhea was born at home, and it was a beautiful sunny May day. So pretty, in fact, that the midwife decided, I think I'll go take a walk for a while. So off she went into the woods that was beside our house, onto the trails. Well, she got lost. Luckily, she made it back just in time for the strongest of my laboring and for Rhea's birth. Like so many parents, moments after their children are born, I looked at this little one in my arms, so tiny and fragile, and dreamt the world for her. I saw her, all that she was in that moment, but also all that I hoped she would be. Not specific things, but just hopes for her to experience a life of love, of joy, of adventure. Now, being a very modest means financially and very modest educational history, I knew I could not provide for her a legacy of wealth or a prestigious educational alma mater. I did not have that to give, but I could give her one thing that I did have, a legacy of love. And oh, how I loved that little one, and her precious little sister who joined us several years later. And for both of them, I banked on the proposition that from the legacy of love, I could offer that everything else would ripple forth for them in wonderful ways, ways that I couldn't plan for or imagine. You know, in truth, perhaps that is the only legacy we can really offer our children and each other. This legacy of love, with the hopes that it and the actions we do in its name will ripple outward and create more than we can imagine. All the hope in every heart will see what love has done, sang Greg. For as long as I live, I will testify to love. All of us listening to this service are receiving the legacy of love of Emerson Unitarian Universalist congregation and those who created it and sustain it. From the music to the words we share to the salad toss story and all the elements that we do together as part of this community, they're given to us. And now we have the opportunity to add on to it and continue the ripples. Celebrating Founders Day and celebrating birthdays are a beautiful thing. But we cannot stop there as simply receivers of a legacy from those that came before. For the question of legacy now is not what legacy have we received, but what is the legacy we are now creating? How shall we act now? What will be our testimony to love? You know, it always breaks my heart when I hear stories of a young person or any person inheriting a large legacy of wealth and then going out and buying and shopping in the fancy cars and the fancy houses, all things for their own personal pleasure. Or when industries look to see what only is the immediate wealth they can obtain from some product they've created, without really looking at the long-term legacy, the ripple effects that that product will produce way past the time when that product ends up in a landfill. You know, and it can happen in our congregations as well if we're not careful. If we allow ourselves to only be receivers, or even just to keep what we have received just too close in, keeping it as a small circle. In his book, The Prophetic Imperative, Richard Gilbert speaks about the need for congregations to make their role in the greater community evident. He says that the fact that a church has a character is inescapable, and thus it cannot be neutral in terms of its stance on social matters. Isn't that powerful? It's saying we can't just be neutral. We make a stance whether we want to or not. He speaks of how some Unitarian Universalist congregations, in their desires to not experience internal conflict and due to the desire to honor individual voices, often choose to not make a clear public statement about who they are and what they feel is right for the common good. And Gilbert challenges us in this book by saying, despite the weight of feelings we have about this matter among us all, if the church cannot operate as an agent for good, cannot be committed in any way, how can we expect our nation to have moral concerns and act ethically if we ourselves in these small congregations can't do that? And he asks us a very poignant question. He says, how can we have moral significance and character? What can we do? He reminds us that taking no position on moral issues is contradictory to taking no action. It's contradictory, for taking no action is a form of action, right? So in other words, to not decide is to decide. As we consider our part in the legacy that we are creating for Emerson, I ask, how are we seen by residents of the county and the county government? Are we a presence that contributes, that has something to say? Do local residents even know what Emerson Unitarian Universalist congregation is all about? Are our values made clear in our choices as a community, with how we allocate our resources and our time? What is the pebble we are dropping in the pond of Cobb County? It's an important question to ask as a community, and also for us to ask of ourselves as individuals. What type of stone am I being? What type of stone are we being? Are we being tiny little pebbles, gently dropping in the pond, trying not to make any ripples whatsoever? Or are we willing to be big pebbles, maybe even stones, not afraid to make a splash and have our ripples extend out in very concrete ways? Recently, we began a project calling it the Legacy Hallway. It's a gorgeous collection of membership photos from throughout the years. I hope you've seen it down the side hallway in the building. It honors many people who have made Emerson, Emerson. But truly, the photos only tell part of the story. The real legacy lives inside each of us, inside each guest that comes in our doors, and each person that is touched by what we do or what we fail to do. The real legacy lies in each decision that the community makes, leaving ripples, ripples, and ripples in the water that we may never see. This year, I've watched as this community stood up for immigration at a town meeting and stood up for those immigrants. It supported the immigrant detainees with visits and working for their release. I've seen how the ripples of love for our planet impacted our choices and resulted in energy conservation and stewardship of this earth. I've watched as numerous guests came to visit and decided to stay, making the decision that there was something here valuable that they wanted to be part of. These are wonderful ripples. These are all wonderful legacies of the stone of love that was dropped here 38 years ago. But you know, I have the feeling that it's only just begun. There's more, isn't it? There is more to the work that we can be doing, standing up for justice in this county, very particularly, and in the neighboring counties, and in this country, especially this year. And it's going to take some pretty big stones to make the ripples that need to be made. Emerson has the potential to leave a legacy of peace, compassion, and justice throughout all of Cobb County and the surrounding areas. It has the opportunity to leave a legacy of love touching many people near and far. This year's membership photo that we often do on Founders Day will have to wait to be taken later in the summer, hopefully. And then it will make its way to the legacy wall. But the legacies that we each contribute are happening right now on how we're handling all that's happening in our world. We are creating a legacy every day with each action we choose and those that we don't choose. How will we leave our mark on this land? The question is not, will we leave a legacy, but simply, what is the legacy we are actually leaving with each moment? The Emerson Stewardship Campaign this year has the perfect title. It's Imagine. Imagine what legacy we can create with our love, with our dedication to justice, and with our care for each other and for every sentient being. The Stewardship Campaign is still underway, and if you have not yet had an opportunity to make your pledge of support, I encourage you to do so as soon as possible. Emerson's future and its legacy is in all of our hands. So let us honor what has been given to us by continuing this great work of love, compassion, and justice that was begun here 38 years ago. I'm in, and I hope you will be as well. I'm going to leave you with these words from the great William James, who says, "The great use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast it." May our collective work leave many ripples of love in this great pond of life, far beyond the pebbles that we continue to drop. Blessed be, and please rise in body or spirit, join together in this community, sing out your voices in love, and have a beautiful day. Blessed be.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
As our worship comes to an end, we hope that you will be feeling nourished in heart and mind by our time together. We invite you to conclude your time of worship with one final act. As you are able, please affirm your support for the sustainability of this congregation and ongoing ministries that we share through a monetary offering. When we give, we say yes to something we value. We sincerely hope that you will have found great value here today and will return again and again to worship and to join as a community working for a positive change in our world. After I complete speaking here, it will show you exactly how you may give your offering. Thank you for your time to make Emerson a truly beloved community.
We're doing something that's good. We're attracting all types of people. Our congregation will look very different than we were when we first started out. It makes me so happy. I hope we're the most diverse congregation in Cobb County. And I hope we can have all kinds of programs that welcome all kinds of people. And I can see us outgrowing this church.
I would hope we might spin off at, say, a Kenton congregation.
We are still as welcoming as we were when we were only 40 people. People come here and I know that they feel welcome and know that we're glad that they're here.
Thank you so much, Millie and Richard, and thank you everyone for contributing to today's service in such a beautiful way. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Please go now in peace and take peace wherever you go. And please do join us at 11:15 for our second hour activities. If you look in the order of service, there'll be lots of choices for children, youth, and adults alike. Hope to see you there.